Hey there. Uh, that's the last time. That's the last time I'm traveling when I'm owed $35,000. It came this weekend in what looked like junk mail. Thank God I didn't throw it out. But now I think I screwed it up. I'm on this website, which for somebody being on such a website for the first time, it's not like I know what I'm looking at. And now I think I screwed it up. So I know what I'm doing the rest of the day, but yeah. Uh, there's a quote from Rocky that I used, which I'm not going to use anymore because I just saw he endorsed Trump. So that's done. Nelson Mandela, though, I think he might be today's morning motivation because I feel like I'm in prison. It's just, oh, why? Not like the whole pity, why me, but why can't people like I make things as easy as possible to follow us as we go up the middle every day when I'm clearly busy with other things. But mm, I I'm building up. I don't care what it takes. I'm not doing this again. There's nobody fucking helps you. Oh, by the way, we're on FM radio 99.1 WDJY. Hey, Atlanta. 11:05, and I'm pissed, frustrated, and I will see what PennyMac does. But I already endorsed a check that the website said to endorse because that's the screen that it came up to, and now I kind of play with it a little bit, and I'm supposed to mail it to them first. I well, why did it come up to this? So here's another waiting period, probably. I don't know. But today we were going to talk about this being day 1000 of the Russian invasion for at least this part of it. Forget about the Crimean Peninsula. Everybody seems to have forgotten about the Crimean Peninsula. That's not Russian, it's Ukrainian. But I guess if you let somebody get comfortable, we'll all get comfortable together and we'll forget about it. I wonder how the people in Crimea think about that. Republicans. So uh, it's uh, I and so many other people say, oh, but this and that and whatever else is so easy. You've got two incomes. You've done this before with like things with like making a flood claim because that happens all the time. And I guess for some of my neighbors, it actually did. I've got neighbors here who have, after having made a claim from Hurricane Idalia last year, 2023, they've been back in their house for 3 months before gutting it and moving out somewhere else again, all over again. 3 months they've been back in their house. Uh, so I'm trying to find the this clock thing is pissing me off. I have this clock app, which is great, but it locks in position and I can't access other things. And that's kind of important. As I get things like a to-do list or, not a to-do list, show notes. 19. And I know my mom's listening. I know she's going to say, why didn't you do this already? I don't know. Maybe because I was trying to figure out how to cash $35,000. Oh, Pierre's Pot. Hang out to the end. We're going to talk about the folks at Progressive who've actually been great. They've been helpful. They're trying. Triton Insurance here in the Tampa Bay area. Mike, Kathleen, everybody there. But first, morning motivation, then we're going to talk about reaching into Russia. Nelson Mandela. Some of my colleagues actually met him. I never lose. I either win or learn. Yeah, well, I guess I'm not going to make the same mistake on the next incoming checks. That's why it's relevant, actually. Picked right before I add something else, and I'm like, no. Speaking of which, Sylvester Stallone is a Trump supporter. I mean, did you get hit in the head that hard that you're comparing Donald Trump to George Washington? I mean, how desperate are you for attention? That's who you're comparing to George Washington. I mean, beyond laughable and sad. What I thought was funny was some dude actually compared Rocky to the porn that he was in. Apparently his famous porn movie was an orgy. And I'm updating some of my show notes. They're actually not accurate. They have like a lot of the networks that aren't on today on the Tuesday, for example. So either win or learn. We're going to find, I would love for this to be a win, but I have no idea how this is going to turn out. There's 3 steps. And apparently the first step is you send the check to, in this case, PennyMac. And it says unendorsed. When I pulled that screen up, that's not the screen, or when I hit all the links to get this far, that's not the screen that came up. The screen that came up was step 2, where you submit a check. Oh, hey, I got a check. Woohoo. And that says to endorse the back. So I'm sitting here thinking that it's all electronic now. So if I have to do this all over again and then pay to have this check canceled and lose that money and bills that I need to pay from this check that are now late, prices of homes are not the issue. Managing once-in-a-lifetime life events like a flood without any help, that's the issue. I've had no contact from PennyMac, even after I called them. And the call that I made to them today was all automated. There was nothing saying, send in the check first. Until I go back and double check some things, and I find this other tab.
Wake up! up, goddammit!
Yeah, I know. So I'm looking at all this now, and I'm just going.
First of all, what?
Yeah, that was me.
What?
That was me. So now I got to find. I got like 50. I'm not kidding you. 50 emails since my prep for the show today from earlier. So the first source is on CNN. Over the weekend, President Biden authorized Ukraine to use the missiles that they sent for longer range targets. But first of all, why would you send them missiles like that if you're not going to let them use it for that? So there you go, righties, me criticizing the Biden administration. Fair question. Here you go. You can reach out into the back of the refrigerator where the really cool beers are, but you can only take from the front where the warm ones are. We'll give you an arm that's long enough to reach the back of the refrigerator, but you can only take from the front. That makes no sense. Give me short Tyrannosaurus Rex arms then. So, of course, Russia is now saber rattling. And Russia is saying that it's going to escalate things. Because bringing whatever it was, 2,000 or 3,000 troops from another country didn't escalate anything. Attacking in the first place didn't escalate anything. "70 miles from Ukraine, in the Bryansk region, the town of Karachev had a Russian arsenal which was apparently struck. Now, according to The Guardian, Moscow says the Ukrainian attack on Russia with U.S.-made missiles against the West signals West wants to escalate conflict in the Russia-Ukraine war. Well, you know what? Maybe you got to escalate to de-escalate. Well, the Lavrov from Russia, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, says the use of U.S.-made missiles directly against Russia is a signal that the West wishes to escalate the conflict. Well, Sergei, tell us what the use of North Korean troops to replace your beat up, tired, demoralized Russian puppets. What is that? It's not like you have any authority in Ukraine. Oh, Republicans here like Marjorie Taylor Greene might tell you that. She also thinks that Jews have space lasers. She also thinks Donald Trump is going to be a good president after his 4 years of disaster. And your own guy, Putin, is probably telling you it's a good idea. But let's talk about somebody that has any sense. It's not those two. Benny Johnson and Dan Bongino. Those are two good choices. Oh, I'm alone in this world. That's what it is. Reuters says that Ukraine, yeah, what I just said, that they struck an arsenal. There's no official comment from Kyiv yet. And Russia says that it destroyed Ukrainian drones in the same region. Okay. Well, that's not missiles. Somewhere it said that Russia shot down 5 missiles. Russia's defense ministry said its forces destroyed 12 Ukrainian drones over the Bryansk region where the attack took place between 7:15 a.m. and 8:35, and 4 more between 9:10 and 9:20. A subsequent report from Russia's state news agency TASS said Russian air defense forces shot down 85 drones and 5 ballistic missiles launched by Ukraine in the past 24 hours. Okay. Well, guess what? They launched 6. So something hit. The Ukrainian military said its strike was followed by 12 secondary explosions and detonations in the area. The destruction of ammunition depots will continue for the army of the Russian occupiers in order to stop the armed aggression by the Russian Federation against Ukraine, according to the Ukrainian military. So Washington had been, and when we say Washington, we're talking about predominantly Biden. I said this to yesterday's goofball, Chad McCall. I said that, yeah, we should have attacked sooner. Yeah, we should have gone deeper. What people don't understand is that the longer Ukraine suffers, the longer they, and I don't know that they're really losing anyway, but the longer that they suffer on any level, the longer that they quote unquote lose. Then the higher the risk that we and or other people in the West put boots on the ground. The other thing that I got to keep reiterating daily until this becomes reality, it starts small, people, and we can do this. We are already in 2 wars. We are already in a civil war. We are already in World War III. Now, Blake is going to tell you that's not true. Matt is going to tell you that's not true. They're also both young enough to be my kids. And they're, as the one movie line from The Killer Angels, the sergeant that gets shot in the arm twice at the Little Bighorn, or not the Little Bighorn, it's Custer, the Little Round Top. Buster Kilrain. In his conversation with Jeff Daniels' character, Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, he says, "You're an idealist. Praise be." Matt and Blake are idealists. They're not realists. We are in a civil war. And I think the 2024 election was the bull run for the North. It was the Fredericksburg for the North. It was an ass kicking. We are patiently waiting for our Gettysburg. In fact, that's actually one of the photos I've got. The satirical stuff. It's I love it, actually. It's a picture of William Tecumseh Sherman, a Northern Civil War general known for his march to the sea, where he would proceed to burn both Atlanta and Savannah to the ground. And it's become known as Sherman's March to the Sea, because it started further inland and he moved east. God damn, where is it? There's like a bunch of them. I thought I had it. I thought I would come across it by now. There we go. And it's a picture of it, the first one. I got a bunch of them. I'll send them to myself and share them eventually. It's his. It's one of the actual photos. Remember, the American Civil War was the first war to be photographed, and he's sitting there with his arms crossed, looking, not at the camera but to the side, as they did back then. And the caption reads, "Do I have to come down there again?" And then there's another one with a Confederate flag. It says, "In 1861, we went to war over our rights. We have no problem doing that again. Remember that. The South will rise again." And the bottom half of the photo is another picture of him, this time with his hand in his jacket, one of those Napoleonic-looking things. And it says, "The South will rise again?" ? "Then I will come down there again," in all red capital letters. Oh, here's a bigger version of it. I like this one. Here's another guy with flanked Confederate flags and wearing a Confederate flag t-shirt. And the caption on the t-shirt says, "My ancestors built this country." Incestors, spelled Incestors. That's the wrong one, but explains why he can't spell. And yeah, it's, don't make me come back down there. And that's it. That's what I'm dealing with. It's a very lonely feeling holding $35,000 in your hand and not being able to use it. And now having to wait longer because I probably screwed something up. So in 30 minutes, we're going to be making a phone call begging PennyMac to help a guy out and see what we can do. Anyway, we're talking about Ukraine, and we're going to come back to that in a second. I got to take a break. And then when we do come back, Pierre's pot and more coffee. Looking forward to that. Pierre's pot and better update on what's really going on in Ukraine. 99.1 WDJY. You're running with the big dogs. At least I'm trying to. You're going up the middle. We'll be back after these words. I think. There we go. Smell nasty. Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yerg's.
I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yergs and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yergs Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com.
All right, gang. Oh, there we go. We're back. And yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking the frustration that this is causing and the anxiety and the want to. I can see why I've got neighbors. I'm not doing this. I absolutely refuse to do this. But I see why I have neighbors who have packed up. Some packed up and left and just literally what they do called walk away. That's it. They've lost their home because they just can't do it anymore. And that's not going to be me because I like not doing that just to piss people off. But I get it. I put the date in each photo that we use for the morning motivation. I put the date in the file name. So when I scroll through them and say, hey, what do I want to use today? Oh, let's use this one. Oh, I used that one last week. You know, it lets me not be too repetitive. Anyway, during the break, I was looking more at what's really happening over there. And it just helps to, and I hope the guys see this episode. It just helps to confirm that, as usual, I'm right. Oh, insurance claim check. Why am I getting an email for that late like this? It just confirms that I'm right. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, it's saying that it's received. Wow. Okay. This might be a good day. As usual, I'm right, as is clearly there. I told you this was going to happen. We are at civil war. At no time since the Civil War, the American Civil War, where there was actually shooting at different people, was our country ever this divisive? Never. We were always unified. It's 11:33:44. I just saw that on the. We were always unified. Even in disagreement, we were unified. And now I hope you can see why I'm constantly comparing Trump, to Adolf Hitler. Somebody tried to call me out and say, oh, how can you do such a thing? Hitler killed 6 million Jews. Actually, it was 7. So learn your history before you come at me. But what did he do first? First, he got out of jail. Trump's on his way there. I'm not saying he's doing all this in order. I'm just saying he's doing it. But first of all, he got out of jail. Then he started talking with various elites who essentially saw the risk of being in the position that they needed somebody to be in. In other words, a replacement for the Kaiser. And what was it Habsburg Empire? The German Empire, what was then the Second Reich or Kingdom. Now you know where the Third Reich comes from. He started the third one. The first one being the Holy Roman Empire, who also used swastikas. See where this is all coming from? And when Hitler spoke, I just gave this lecture to my parents over the weekend when I was in Pennsylvania. And it was perfect because my dad tried to interject and I talked over him louder than he was. And I said things 3 times like Hitler does, or at least multiple times. And it got my dad's attention. My dad kind of sat back a little bit. My mom was amazed. You know, she definitely is now thinking Penn State did better than the Hill School. That's a slam on 2 brothers that support Trump. I don't care, but whatever. And what Hitler did was cause division. What Hitler provided was a level of false hope to the elites, the upper class, or anybody. There were actually lower class people too that did it as well. They just weren't Jewish. And he provided all these people with a certain level of false hope that they were better than everybody else. 1, most importantly. 2, that they were not to blame for the struggles that they were having, but that someone else was, and that someone else was a set demographic. And we know them to have been the Jews. What we've learned since then, and what's already been forgotten, is that the Jews weren't alone. Now, in the major level of persecution, clearly it was the Jews. And I'm not at all, ever, on any level, downplaying the Holocaust or the Jewish struggle on any level, at any time, anywhere. But without question, the good news is they were not alone. At least for a while, they had somebody to fight this fight, lost though it may have been, with them. Enter non-Jewish people, or excuse me, enter non-German people, enter gays, enter anybody with any level, not just non-German, but anybody with any level, German or not, with a different skin color. So does any of this sound familiar? And do you still wonder? Let me know in the chat, please. Give me a call. Give me a call. I'm reading Neil Thompson. Welcome back. I think that was the guy who commented the other day. 1-888-88 Yergs. Yep, phone line's ready. But are you seeing now why I say we are already at civil war? And that we are already at world war? And Hitler is already here? Neil says it's raining paper. Congrats on your check. I also received a paper check yesterday. See, everybody's like receiving this late. I had been waiting since July. And yes, believe it or not, it was in fact government related. So be more specific, guys, when you give comments like that. I don't know why you're saying it's government related. And don't leave us hanging. And then he says, something else, careful. We were not right about the election. I was not right about the outcome of the 2024 election. That's correct. That doesn't mean the various assessments that I made that led me to that decision were incorrect. And in fact, you've got to see this one YouTube video. I don't know what profile I was on when I was watching this in bed last night. I'm having the worst time sleeping. I don't know why. History. Let's see if it's here. Oh, this might be it because I was watching things about data science. This is it. I'm not going to play it because I don't know about every has copyright issues. So this is something called the Thom Hartmann program. I have no idea who this guy is. I don't know if he's right or left or centrist or whatever. He can't be too far MAGA because he's allowing this other guy who's a statistician, essentially. This guy's got to be at Penn State because he talks about living in Center County, Pennsylvania. That's Penn State. Unless there's another school. Oh, there's a smaller school up in like Bellefonte or something, I think. Or maybe, not Lehigh. What's the other one? There's a big wrestling school that's not too far away from there. Lehigh isn't too far away, but he wouldn't be commuting to Lehigh if he was a professor there and living in Center County. Wellsboro. What's the one in Wellsboro? Because I used to drive to meet my family in Wellsboro when I was living in Penn State, and it actually wasn't that far. Jeff Evans, a friend of mine from home, went to this school, and I can't think of it. But anyway, this guy, the guy on the right, I'm not sharing the screen yet. Give me a second, gang. The guy that's about to be on the right of your screen is a data scientist. Why is none of this working? This data scientist is not letting me expand. What the hell? This data scientist is pointing out what are called bullet ballots. And they're potentially legal if they're a real valid paper ballot. A bullet ballot is when you. Oh, did that do it? There we go. A bullet ballot is when you come in, you vote, in this case, for Donald Trump. You vote only for Donald Trump, and that's it. Boom, you send in your ballot. Well, a bullet ballot would also be used for fake ballots because that's the only one you're trying, that's the only election you're trying to rig. So what this guy is saying is that he is pleading to the Harris campaign to request a recount, to request a manual paper ballot recount in certain areas where his statistics are showing anomalies that didn't happen in 2016. This guy, the guy in the darker glasses and the much more receding hairline and shorter hair and the phone to his head, is saying, apparently, I don't know, I guess they were having some audio issues, and so he calls in, but leaves a video link from Skype or Zoom or whatever active. And what he's saying is in some certain areas of swing states, Pennsylvania being one of them, there were certain chains of events that scream fixed election. And in part, what's happening is these various chains of events act as a distraction. I've told the story before about the 2004 election when I met John Bon Jovi. John Bon Jovi was a dick to me in this one particular moment. After the fact, when I was crying in my beer to some colleagues, they told me why. When you run for president, you have the infrastructure nationally to do more accurate polling that, for whatever reason, is what's released to the public. As such, you kind of know if you're going to win or not. And apparently, in the meeting that Bon Jovi and then Senator John Kerry, the Democratic nominee, were coming out of, they just kind of got the word it wasn't going to happen. They were not going to unseat incumbent president running for re-election, George W. Bush. And so they were pissed, especially John Bon Jovi. A lot of the money that was spent was his. So yeah, I'd be unhappy as well. Makes sense now. Fast forward to 2016, 2020, and 2024. These same entities had those assets in place. And I'm not, when I say assets, coming from the Secret Service and our nation's intelligence community, I'm talking about spies. I'm just saying about they got people on the ground, grassroots type folks, getting good information. And Tom's back, or Thompson's back. Well, wouldn't at least one or some of your assessments be off if you were still incorrect about the election? No. In fact, actually, everything was spot on, just in the wrong direction. And this guy is kind of helping me validate that. Tom Hartman is a moderate left liberal, sort of famous talk radio. think he's on RT, Russia Today, of all places. I'll have to look him up. I'm not familiar with him. But thanks for that info, Neil. Appreciate it. But back to my droning on story. If you've got all of these assets in place, and instead of texting, give us a call, Neil. Man, come on, chat with us here. I'm trying to use these phone lines I'm paying for. You kind of know. And what I'm theorizing now, well, what's actually true, and has been true and known to those of us with a clue, Trump knew he was going to lose in 2020. So, and this is fact. This is fact. Before the election even happened is when he started the Stop the Steal bullshit. And I only got about 11 minutes left before we lose Atlanta, and I want to get through all this. So he starts with that to set up the Stop the Steal storyline. And of course, we know about January 6th and various indictments and people from his administration, whether he gets out or not, who are still have their tit in a ringer. But now what's also happened is a sown seed of distrust in our election system. So now he comes back and rigs 2024. And now legitimate claims of election interference are made, and everybody goes, oh, we've heard that before. When in all actuality, now might be the time to listen. And with this Thom Hartmann program, the guy with him, I think I'm covering up the... I thought there was that name for the data scientist there somewhere. Sorry. This Thom Hartmann guy and his guest. I watched this whole thing last night. There it is. Stephen Spoonamore from Center County, Pennsylvania, data scientist, statistician, whatever the actual title is saying that the bomb threats, one of which happened where he was at in Center County, and I think the other one was Atlanta, that we also know were Russian, were a way to distract election officials from the real attack that was about to happen. And that was the influx of tampered votes, these bullet ballots. Well, how did that happen? The internet system, I got to Google something quick. Give me 1 second. I got them brain farting on a name. There it is. Okay. The internet system that all these election facilities, polling locations and such are using is a network called Starlink. Does that ring a bell? Starlink is the satellite internet system from Elon Musk. Now you see why he has been so close to the Trump administration. Because he's helping to possibly rig the 2024 election. And what this data scientist has known is that these bullet ballots or any other fraudulent ballot are in the swing states, in controversial areas of swing states. In other words, they're the reason why she did poorly in areas where she shouldn't have done so poorly, she being Kamala Harris. And so what he's calling out, unfortunately, in the legal system, I, as a voter, can't call for a recount. I wasn't running for election. So it's actually got to be Kamala Harris. Now, there are various movements for voters to also call for recounts, but because of where they would have been damaged, the only place that can be recounted is their actual polling location, which will happen, but not until after the election is certified. And it's too late. If Kamala Harris does it, the certification will stop pending the manual counting of paper ballots, at which time Trump will probably go back to his stop the steal, which is exactly the plan. And we could get a totally different outcome. Are we ever going to see that? I doubt it. I think she's going to take the hit. And just go down in history as the second nominee to have not done well. Actually, to have not done well against Donald Trump. Because both of them lost to him. So we're running out of time. I'm not going to get to any more updates. Actually, let's hit it real quick. I'll put all this in the show notes. Please check the show notes. If I don't get it uploaded to yergs.com, hit me up here. News, NEWZ at YERGZ.com. News at yergs.com. And I'll send you a copy of the show notes. I'll autograph it, just like I did my check prematurely. But this is something I want to finish the day on here. We got 4 minutes. According to The Guardian, which is a British rag, and it's a bit raggy, but it's still decent information here because I read it during the one break. Russia said on Tuesday that Ukraine's use of long-range ATACMS missiles against its territory marked a new phase of the Western war. This is still in Eastern Europe, right? Against Moscow. The Western war against Moscow. And vowed to react accordingly. Okay, here we are. It came after Ukraine fired U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia for the first time since the Biden administration lifted restrictions on their use. Russia's defense ministry reported that Ukraine launched 6 U.S.-made ATACMs targeting southwestern Bryansk overnight. The ministry claimed that 5 of the missiles were shot down and another was damaged. This is Russia talking, by the way. The ministry added that debris from the rockets caused a fire at an unnamed military facility. There's a link on that bullet point to that full count. Next point, Britain is expected to supply Storm Shadow missiles for the use by Ukraine on targets inside Russia. Now that U.S. President Joe Biden has agreed to do the same for similar American long-range ATACMs in use. Keir Starmer, the UK's prime minister, I didn't even know who the UK, there have been so many. The last one I remember was Tony Blair or Gordon Messiehair. Keir Starmer, the UK's prime minister, said that at the G20 that the UK recognized it's needed to double down on its support for Ukraine, though he refused to draw a specific operational detail. A deadly Russian attack on the northern Sumy region late on Monday, 11 p.m. local time, 11:20 p.m. local time, reportedly hit a dormitory of an educational facility in the small town of Lukiv. I think the H is probably silent. 12 people, including a child, were killed. 11 others, including 2 children, were wounded. In an address to Ukraine's parliament, Volodymyr Zelensky said he will not trade his country's sovereignty in any negotiations to bring about an end to the Russia's war. After recently mooted peace proposals suggested that Kyiv made territorial concessions. Speaking to a special session of the European Parliament on Tuesday, the Ukrainian president urged Europe to intensify their military aid in a speech marking 1,000 days, we said that earlier, since Russia launched the full-scale invasion. European nations should be ready to send troops to Ukraine to secure any peace deal between Kyiv and Moscow orchestrated by Donald Trump, Estonia's foreign minister Margus Tashna said. Vladimir Putin signed a revised nuclear doctrine lowering the threshold for using nuclear weapons. Oh, there's some more saber rattling. All right. Clearly, we're going to be talking about this again. 99.1 WDJY. We'll see you guys tomorrow. America One Radio and everybody else. I got another meeting to call for and a check to deal with. I'll see you tomorrow. You've been running with the big dogs up the middle. See you again.